Hi coolers, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a video that I don't really want to make, but we have to talk about it because Xavi announced that he's leaving at the end of the season, and it's tough, you know. So in this video we're gonna look at what has been going wrong for Xavi as Barcelona coach, right? But before we get into all of that, please do subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us a lot to get the family to grow. And without further wasting any time, let's get right into the video. First things first is the fact that I don't like it when Xavi changes too much, you know. In this season, Xavi has only fielded the same 11 in 2 consecutive games once. I really wanted to know from Xavi, why was Ferran Torres on the bench? Why was Pedri on the bench? These are 2 guys that are in between the lines constantly. And you decided you're going to put these 2 guys on the bench. Why was Oriol Romeo in the pivot position over here? Gundogan do play a lot better up top, but I mean, you need to win a game. You're under pressure as a manager. Why on earth would you leave those 2 guys on the bench? There's too many changes, and we need to understand that when you change your team, you break the rhythm of the team. Because you saw what happened against Villarreal. The game changed like instantly. The game changed for Barcelona. And speaking of lineups, sometimes Xavi's tactics also don't correlate to each other in terms of the lineup, right? For an example, if you have Varane, Balde needs to keep the width. I'm going to show you in a second a few pictures from that kid that played left back the other day, how good his positioning was. He made runs ahead of Varane. When Varane inverts, Balde don't do that. And you as a manager, you need to instruct these guys to do what needs to be done, right? Another thing is when we pick Koundé, did you know that a lot of you guys talk about, oh, we need 3 defenders or whatever the case may be, a double pivot. We conceded 9 goals in the last 2 games with Koundé, Araujo and Christensen, or at least 3 centre backs. If you have Lamine Yamal, I understand when you maybe play Ferran Torres on the side, then you can have Koundé overlapping. But when you have Lamine playing, who's great in one-on-one situations, why is Koundé going forward? Why is he going forward? Why can't Pedri maybe overlap when Lamine comes inside? Why can't Pedri? There's so many things that you can do as a manager, and a lot of you guys are talking about, oh, the players are trash. I don't know if you know about the saying, you can tell by the look of your house who's living there. If you're a clean person, your house is going to be clean. If you're a dirty person, your house is going to be dirty. And Xavi, the way Barcelona are playing now is a result of Xavi's image. He's the leader of that team. And if that team is in disarray at the moment, that is because his leadership is in disarray at the moment. So we need to stop blaming the players only, because how do guys like Sir Alex Ferguson stay so successful for all these years? How does Pep stay successful? Why is Pep successful everywhere he goes? And I know there's a lot of problems. The players does have some blame, but Xavi's changes and his tactics have such a huge influence on this team, guys. And that's something we need to accept. I want to show you this left back kid that played against Villarreal. Look at the space, how he's drawing that player away from the half space, which Lewandowski couldn't actually take advantage of. And look at how he runs in behind. He can easily now receive the ball from Joao Felix. This is the type of stuff that I want Alejandro Balde to do. He needs to run in behind the players. And also look at how that kid unnoticed go into that space right there. This is stuff that we usually saw from Jordi Alba. But no, Balde cannot do these type of things, and I wonder why he can't do that. When I speak about core tactics, I speak based on the fact that most teams more or less do the same kind of thing from game to game. Alright, sometimes, if you take for an example Manchester City, where one of the centre backs actually invert into midfield, they do that most of the time, right? Like 8 out of 10 times they will do that, you know. But with Xavi, you get something totally different. I mentioned this earlier. Ferran Torres was good at inverting right there. But the very next game, Ferran don't get picked, and something now that was working for us is not there anymore. So we have to look at a different way to get all of this. So the core tactics of Xavi never stays the same, right? If you look at Koundé is a prime example of this, right? Koundé is so excellent at overlapping, although I want him to stay back. But yeah, Koundé is so excellent at overlapping. He finds good crosses and good passes into this area. But the one game he does it, the next game he doesn't do it. He does it maybe for 2 games in a row, then he doesn't do it for 5 games. When last have you seen Koundé have a good game down that flank? So the base tactics, the core tactics of Barcelona never really stays the same, right? One game Lamine Yamal is attacking the byline, the next game he's inverting. I know you don't need to be so predictable by doing it, but you need to do it most of the time so that the guys can get used to it. How is Lamine going to get used to taking guys on if he doesn't do it? If he cuts inside constantly, he's going to get better at putting in the crosses. And if you look at Rafinha, right? Rafinha's not good on the outside, but he comes in constantly. Sometimes Rafinha is forced to stay out wide. Sometimes Lamine, who's good at staying out wide and taking the byline, he inverts. Now, I don't know if it's Xavi advising him to do that, but yeah. Same thing with Gundogan. One game Gundogan is high, one game he is a pivot. So the base core, the base tactics of Barcelona never stays the same. That's why none of you can actually tell me that you can expect how Barca is going to play from game to game. But you more or less know what you're going to get from your Cities, your Bayern, your Arsenal. But with Barcelona, that's never really the case. So that's also a huge problem for Xavi and for Barcelona. You know, it's ironic how many times I've talked about the double pivot and how it doesn't benefit Barcelona. Basically due to the fact that teams tend to defend extremely narrow when we play with a double pivot. But however, in the last few games, we did see that Xavi did try to have Frenkie and Gundogan, and he did try to change this, by the way. But teams mainly, especially the lower log teams, you know, lower in the table, they tend to just close down the middle and let Barcelona come through this. But you know, funny enough, Xavi still wants to overload the midfield and have players more forward and basically try to clock that mid. But this draw Barcelona centrally as well, because we often see Balde going forward, and then when teams, especially teams that play on the transition, when they recover the ball, they could easily just play it in behind, and Barcelona are so much exposed with the space in behind. But the main problem is because of the movement, you know. Like I said in previous videos, I made countless videos. I even dedicated a video solely to this problem, the double pivot problem. Because of the pivot, we can't have any movement, right? And you can see Koundé is too far to move. Sometimes it takes time for him to go down here. And then when we lose the ball, teams can easily just play it in behind and kill Barcelona. So the double pivot definitely is and was and is still a problem for Xavi, and basically due to the fact it leaves us vulnerable. Even with a double pivot, we concede like 9 goals in the last 2 games. So the double pivot definitely, and this is not the Barcelona way. I'm sorry, maybe it's Frenkie de Jong's fault. Xavi wants to alter to fit him in the team, but teams like Las Palmas are even playing with a single pivot. What's wrong with Barcelona that we can't play with a single pivot? And the single pivot has always been the Barcelona way. We could argue that, oh, we don't have a dedicated pivot or whatever the case may be. We can train these guys. We can toss these guys. Then why can other managers turn people in? Even Pep turned Joshua Kimmich into a single pivot. So there's no excuses, guys. This double pivot is hugely a problem for Barcelona's way that we want to play. But in the end, guys, Xavi can only get so much blame. But I think these 3 things that we mentioned in the video are probably the biggest reasons why he's not getting the best out of the team. But like I said, he's the manager. He should take most of the blame, because that team is the image of him. Although we know about the players that has a hand in all of this, you know, not playing very well or playing good, you have to lay everything at the manager's door. That is how football just works, right? But as always, do let me know, what do you think about the games that Xavi has managed so far in the season, and what do you guys think in general? As always, subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us a lot. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.